Steve Harvey is arguably one of the most influential entertainers of our time. But success for him was far from guaranteed, and it didn't come overnight.
I used to spend the night in hotel parking lots, and I said, come on, God, man, I've been trying to make this dream come true. You done left me out here like this. And I was crying so hard that he just said, I didn't hear a voice or nothing, but he spoke to me. And however, he said, if you get up, I'm gonna take you places you ain't never been.
You'll rarely find somebody this honest and this transparent about how they got where they are today. As I sit with Steve, I can't help but admire his perseverance and grit. And while he's admittedly a crier like I am, he's not afraid to laugh along the way. How long have you been on TV, Steve Harvey?
Since 1994.
Okay, the Law and Order, has it been on that long? I mean, it's just like you and Law and Order and things. You guys have been on.
I feel like that. I've been on a lot of shows, though. You know, it ain't been a real consistent run.
But you know what's funny? When you're on a lot, people have a chance to get used to it, but they also have a chance to get tired of you, and that's why people don't last. Why do you think you've lasted on the air throughout all these different kind of machinations?
Well, my longest run has been Family Feud.
Yeah.
I think it's authenticity.
Yeah.
I think people really, really enjoy somebody who's honest. I mean, that's what's kept you on the air this long.
Yeah.
People know they can tune in and get a real opinion, good or bad, agree or disagree. They're going to get an honest opinion from a person. I think authenticity has kept me.
Were you always authentic, Steve, or did you do sometimes what the TV business tells you to do? Be more like that. Be less like that. Be like
you know
him.
what happened? The first year I got on TV, they told me, you talk too country. And if you don't change that, you won't be able to last on television. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what to do with that, because what else was I going to be? I mean, I don't really have a lot of good grammar in me. And this is how I am. And I've made this, my career started as a comedian.
Yeah.
And my objective was to make people laugh. That was it. I didn't have no other objective. So I didn't understand adjusting for the system. And I told the lady I won't be participating in that change. They even hired a linguistics coach.
But you said no?
I didn't know because back then I didn't know what linguistics meant. I thought she was in here to teach me how to fix pasta. And so I was excited about that. And then when I found out she was in there talking about the way I talk, and I told the lady, she said, I'm your linguistics coach. And I said, well, I ain't finna do all that. She said, excuse me? I said, I ain't finna do all that. She said, did you hear what you just said? Could you repeat it slowly? I said, I ain't finna do all that. She said, that's exactly why I'm here. I said, man, I'm not finna change the way I talk. She said, you keep saying fitna. What is that? I said, well, let me put it to you this way. Which one of these sounds best to you? I am broke or I'm is rich? Because right now I'm is rich, and that's what I'm going to go with. And that was the end of the conversation.
By the way, that's brilliant. Can I ask you something? Because to get where you are, I'm sure a lot of people have wondered how. Somehow in the very beginning, someone has to look you square in the eye as a little boy and say, Steve, you got something special. Who did that for you?
Ray Davis. I know the exact name. He was a psychology teacher in high school. His name's Ray Davis. It was 1974. He came to my house at night, and I lived in the hood, man, and I lived really in the hood. I'm older, so there was no integration. I grew up in segregation. And white guy came to my house at night, which was very dangerous to do. And he got threatened when he got out the car, and he came up to my door and he set my parents down. He said, your son is something special, but if he doesn't stop hanging with these two guys that he's hanging with in school, he's going to go down the wrong path. That was a turning point for my life. That was the first time somebody told me I had something special going on. He went back to get in his car. A group of hoodlums gathered around. My father came out on the front porch with his gun and said, leave him alone. He got in his car, he drove off. The two dudes that he told me to stop hanging with are inmates today. that was the game changer for me. He was the first person that told me I was going to be something. And then a girl named Ida Knowles in college told me, she said, "You're wasting your time here. I don't know why you're here.
Why?
You should be a star." And I want a star.
Wait, what did they see? What did your teacher see? What did Ida see?
I don't know. You know, I had a special way with words. I had such a sharp wit, even as a child. My mother was a Sunday school teacher, right? Mm-hmm. She used to take me to church on Friday nights to prayer meeting to get me prayed for. Because my son, he just says whatever's on his mind, and it's going to get him in trouble. And I stayed in trouble. And so I've always had a really, really quick wit. And I wanted to be on TV since I was 10, you know, but you couldn't tell nobody. You grew up in the hood, who are you going to tell that to? I'm going to be on TV. So that was my dream, and I just stayed with it and kept thinking about it.
Well, it sounds like you were imagining it since you're so little, but there's imagining, which is really dreaming, and then there's doing. They're two different things, because one of them's a dream and one's kind of a plan. How did you go from, boy, I sure want to do it, which a lot of people listening want to do something, to saying, all I need is one, just open the door for me, one break?
You know, it was really an accident. You know, God gives everybody at one point in their life the opportunity. Everybody gets the shot to make the decision to go left or right. Everybody gets that shot. Don't say you don't. You can stop that. You had it, or you getting it. And you chose not to, or you chose to. And I was 27 years old. I was writing jokes for a comedian named A.J. Jamal. I had no idea what he was doing with the jokes. He told me he was doing special gigs and stuff. And so I would write jokes for him. He'd say, "Hey, man, Steve, what would you say?" And I'd tell him what to say. And he'd pay me $10 for a joke. I was making an extra $30 a week. I thought this is 1985. I'm living good. And one day, I was at his house giving him these jokes on paper. I worked at a company called General Electric. And this girl came over named Gladys Jacobs, and she said, "You the guy that's writing these jokes for A.J. Jamal?" I said, I don't know what he's doing with him. She said, "He's the funniest guy at the comedy club." I went, "What?" She said, "He's the funniest guy at the comedy club." And I didn't write all of his jokes. I just wrote some. And I said, "Comedy club, what's that?" She said, "What do you mean? You don't know what he's doing with his jokes?" She said, "Why don't you tell the jokes yourself?" So she said, "I'm going to pick you up Tuesday night, take you to the comedy club." I'd never heard of the Cleveland Comedy Club, never heard of Hilarities. I was 27 years old. And she took me to the comedy club, and I signed up for the following week. Somebody got scared that night and didn't go, so they had 10 performers that night. They got to number 9. I was sitting there, I didn't laugh at anybody. I was just sitting there looking at them, saying what I thought they should have said. And they got to number 10, and they called his name, and he wasn't there. And they said, "Hey, we're going to go to the next week's list. Where's Steve Harvey?" And I was eating some chicken wings and drinking grapefruit juice. And I turned to the girl, Gladys, who I was with, and I said, "It's a dude in here got the same name I got." And I went, "Well," and they called me up, and I ran up on stage.
And
I won amateur night. I won $50.
Holy moly.
I went to work. That was October 8th, 1985.
Holy moly.
I went to work the next day, quit my job. Told everybody I was a professional comedian. I had $50.
And you just kept at it.
Well, I became homeless and ended up living in a car for 3 years. And
what made you stay with it? Because I think you just said that God gives you an opportunity. Some people might think, if I'm sleeping in my car for 3 years and I'm not making it, God is telling me something. He's telling me this isn't your path. You either decide this isn't your path or try harder.
Right.
How did you know what he was telling you to do?
Well, for starters, I didn't have a plan B. I never believed in a plan B. Everybody that I know that has a plan B has had to use it. Everybody that I know that had a plan B used the plan B. Because in order to fix the plan B, you can't give your all to A. So everybody I know with a plan B used the plan B. I'd never had the plan B. This was it. And it was many days I felt like giving up. You know, I'm human, you know. There was a lot of days I didn't think I was going to make it. There was a lot of days I said, "Man, this ain't the best idea." But I ain't have another one. You know, I had nothing. So, you know, I think a lot of it was really my mother praying for me. I think a lot of it was I just didn't want to go back home and say I was a failure because I'd already flunked out of college. I'd already messed my marriage up. I had already, you know, lost friends and family members. Everybody thought when I said I was going to go be a comedian, this is the stupidest thing you could have ever said. I mean, you're an idiot. I mean, people stopped talking to me because of that. They thought it was, I don't even want to know a person who just walks away from their job like that. But I didn't know any other way to do it. I mean, you're either going to jump or you're not. I don't know if there's ever, the right time. The right time is now, because if you're waiting on your ducks to get lined up, it doesn't happen.
So if people are listening and they, you know, they've got a lot of faith in them too, and they want to know what message they're getting, how did you know that it was key? It was because you said at one point you didn't hear God, but you knew what He was telling you or how He was guiding you, because sometimes it can be confusing.
Yeah.
Is He telling me to switch? Is He telling me to stay?
Well, but you know, here's something a minister told me one time that kind of sticks with me. God's voice has no sin in it. His voice never has sin in it. So, you know, you hear people say, well, the God told me to go down there and tell them people. No, He didn't. That's not what He told you to do. God told me to fight. No, God didn't tell you to do that.
That's so profound.
His voice has no sin in it. So sometimes when you're listening and you hear the naysayers, a naysayer is a negative. A naysayer is a hater. A naysayer is an impossibility. None of that defines God. You know, you've got to really understand, man, that at one point in time, you've got to just rely on faith. Faith is the belief in things that you cannot see. You've got to know that. You know, it's hard though, and I'll be the first to tell you, it's hard, and you don't know sometimes. You're sitting up here trying to figure out, is that the way to go, or is that the way to go? Maybe I should turn back. Why would God tell you to turn back? You know, I mean, you got to listen. Old people used to say, I don't believe He brought me this far to leave me. Old people know got a lot of information, man. And it sounds old, corny stuff when you're in church listening to old people, but they coming from years of experience. And you've got to understand, man, if you're going down a path and it feels right, and all of a sudden, just because something starts going wrong, all of a sudden it don't feel right no more, that don't mean it ain't. You got to be tested and challenged, you know. You got to see if you really want it. You got to pass test. And you just got to keep realizing that if you wake up and you pass a test and you're still on that path, you might as well keep going. One of my accountants years ago gave me a plaque that said, if you're going through hell, just keep going.
Keep going.
I mean, this is not a good place to stop in the middle of hell. Put the brakes on here, you know.
You are, like, that was very profound, what you just said. All of that was very profound. It just hit in, like, a way that I didn't expect. I feel like you're constantly evolving, and when you have a tough time, because obviously being in the spotlight, anyone can have a tough time. We don't know about it. You have a tough time. Everybody knows about it. How do you, those potholes, how do you, like, get out of it? How do you get back up?
You know, it's hard. It really is. You know, it's not like I got this magic trick. I'm Steve Harvey. I just get up and keep moving. It don't bother me. Yeah, it does, man.
It does.
It hurts me. It trips me up. It feels real heavy sometimes. And like you say, when you're in the spotlight, you don't get to live your mistakes under the cloak of darkness. You make a mistake, Hoda, you're on TV. You can't. And they're going to talk about you without all the information. And, you know, you got to develop a tough skin. But the key is you got to, and the older you get, the better you should get at this. But if I was a younger person and I could tell myself something, I would say what I heard Tom Hanks say one time. If I could tell a younger me one thing, I would tell myself, this too shall pass. Because, man, all of it does. See, you got a trip like this, Listen, look at every single thing you've ever gone through, every critical moment, every bad decision, every heartbreak, every setback, every moment of misery. Think of all of that that's happened to you. Your survival rate for surviving hard, insurmountable, unthinkable hard times, your survival rate is 100%. Everybody, we're batting 1,000. Every last one of us, our survival rate is 1,000%. We've never not made it. So as you get older, you become better at that. But as you're younger, I would say to younger people, this too shall pass. Trust and believe you're going to get past that. Oh, it might seem impossible right now, and it might seem like it's lasting a lot longer than it should. But, I mean, look, man, this is going to go away. And you just gotta believe that it's going to go away, because it is.
That's beautiful advice, by the way, beautiful.
You're going to get over her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Wellness is another place. You've always been spiritually dealing with all this stuff, but now, I mean, the physical part too.
Yeah.
Keeping yourself healthy, active, all of these things, and you're kind of putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, look, I went through a period I wasn't myself anymore. I worked so many jobs. I was just grinding myself down. It's a cost for success. There's a cost to be successful. But there's a cost to not be successful too. I'd rather pay the cost for success. But I was grinding myself down, man. I was wearing myself out. And I had low energy, brain fogginess all the time. I was just trying to stay up, man. I was struggling, man, with some issues in my gut. I had to go to some holistic doctors. I started finding out I had some problems. And then one day, actually, real true story, I was in a beanbag in the basement with my kids. And one of my grandkids came in and said, "Papa, come play." And I went, "Okay." And I had to get out the beanbag chair. Man, that beanbag chair was whooping my ass. That beanbag chair was winning. It's like I was in a wrestling match on the floor with this beanbag. I said, wait a minute. And when I finally got out the beanbag, I looked over and my 3 sons was laughing. And they never laughed at me before.
Oh.
Because I've always been the heavyweight champ at my house.
Right.
You don't laugh at me because even to this day, my son still can't whoop me. No, not really. Not in a real fight. They don't have the same thing. And I just got up and I went, wow, something's wrong. And so I said, man, I got to do something about it. So I started talking to some holistic doctors because I love a lot of natural approaches, right? And they told me that I had to feed myself on a cellular level. And so I started taking these green drinks and all this stuff. And I started feeling better, but I couldn't keep it up because I just didn't like them. I mean, some days I just can't gag down this damn green drink. I know it's good for me, but it don't taste good. And so I found this company. And I started talking to them, and I know they had released this bone broth that I was drinking and everything. And I said, hey, I got an idea. I wish that I could find a green drink that did more than the one I was drinking. I need for you to help me with this brain fog that I was having. I need you to help me with my energy levels, and I want to take care of my gut issues. And so I met this guy from Harvard who was a formulator, and we started talking. And over a year and a half, he said, man, that's what I do. And he started putting formulas together. And I didn't like this one. I didn't like that one. He came back. He said, I did this, but I didn't add that. I said, no, you got to add this.
Add it all.
And he put it all together. And then I said, now, here's the deal. It's got to taste good because I can't gag down another green drink. I said, man, I need flavor. And so he made it in some flavors. And then I went to them and I said, hey, can we mass produce this and make it affordable? So I came out with this product. And what I started doing was I started using it myself, and I found my energy just started skyrocketing again. I felt better.
Yeah.
After got to take it for a while. You don't drink one glass and all of a sudden you can go run a marathon. Let's not be stupid here. But over the course of a month or so, I really noticed a change, man, and this drink is really...
You're speaking to the right person. Brain fog is like a thing, man. It's real.
I got to get up every morning and do a radio show from 6 to 10.
Yes.
And then I got to go do TV all day.
See?
So I found that this green drink, man, if you do it every day, it's really, really helpful.
Steve Harvey, you are full of beautiful wisdom. I love you. Thank you, Steve.
It's a fast-paced world. It is no surprise that according to the CDC, nearly 40% of Americans say they feel symptoms of anxiety and depression.
So we decided to do something. Over the next couple of days, we're going to share innovative ways to get calm, reduce your stress and anxiety, and live happier, healthier lives. One can be so simple. All you have to do is breathe.
Children get to shut their eyes and throw tantrums when they're stressed out or unhappy. But that does not work for adults. And according to a recent study by the World Health Organization, the pandemic triggered a 25% increase in anxiety and depression globally. But if we want to go from here to here, we're going to need a collective calm down.
People are looking for a different way to work, maybe not the same 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Maybe we're looking for a different way to find peace.
One solution, science suggests just breathe. The age-old practice of breathing meditation is not new, but it's being looked at in a whole new way. Neuroscientists say controlled breathing can reduce stress, increase alertness, and boost our immune systems.
Welcome, friends.
And breathing meditation classes are gaining momentum all across the country, with countless tutorials going viral on social media.
What are you grateful for?
Employers like Nike and even NASA are catching on, offering workshops to help employees reduce stress.
What a beautiful group of humans. Hi.
So Al and I thought we'd try a little deep breathing of our own at New York's Frequency Breathwork.
So we're bringing really democratic mental health medicine to the masses.
Like so many of us, Viv Rosenthal was once a stressed and anxious former executive. But after discovering breathwork, she vowed to make a change. Now, a teacher herself, she spreads the gospel of calm.
When I wake up in the morning, I think about meditation. I do 20 minutes each morning. I feel like if I do that, my day is level set.
I find that whenever I've done these guided things, whatever, I just end up falling asleep.
So we'll put one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly.
Rounding out our group, a few open-minded Today Show staffers tag along.
We keep talking about anxiety, and there's a lot of stress. To imagine that breathing's the key to unlocking it. It's like a magic trick, really.
Just entering the room without walls feels both cozy and freeing, and the instructions are simple.
Let's bring a smile to our face.
Taking 2 breaths through the mouth, we fill our bellies and then our chests before exhaling. We continue as Rosenthal talks us through the journey.
Picture yourself as a little girl or boy. Yogis have been breathing in caves since the dawn of time. We're now rediscovering the power of the breath. Breathwork is the fastest way to create an emotional shift from an emotion that's gripping you to feeling like more present. Release.
As we settle into this circular breathing, Rosenthal's words, the sounds, and the kaleidoscope above add to the mood. It may look strange, but we are on a roller coaster. At times, our heart's pounding. Then there are moments of reflection. Many feel tingling in the limbs and a sense of floating. It's what they call a non-ordinary state of consciousness. The experience brings several of us to tears. Rosenthal says crying and laughing is common. I did both at the same time, and I can't explain why. Enhancing the moment, Rosenthal says music, also known as a sound bath, helps create new pathways that rewire your mind.
The breath opens us up, as does sound. And sound also has a vibration, it has a frequency, and it helps shift our mood. It's really cathartic.
The idea that you can breathe in certain ways and you feel a wave of emotion. You're like, how is that possible? Your body itself is taking emotions and stress and stuff you've been stuffing down. And by the simple act of breathing, it's like free.
I feel grounded, centered, and extremely grateful.
A totally unique and eye-opening lesson in what can happen when we let go and allow ourselves room to breathe.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.